This is She Fascinates Me, a podcast about women who are living with intention, curiosity, and heart. I'm Julie Silber, and in each episode, I'm bringing you conversations with women who inspire fascination in all its forms. I met a stranger in Paris. We were both women enjoying the city alone until we weren't. And a table for one became a table for two. And just like that, a spontaneous yes by my new friend Kim Paterick turned into one of those nights you wish you could bottle. I've always been fascinated by people who lean into the moment, and perhaps that's why I was especially intrigued by Kim's life as a flight attendant, someone who lives in the in-between and says yes to the world every day. So before we dive in, I am an independent creator, and this podcast is going to grow with YouTube subscriptions. Those help me more than you know. So if you haven't already, please take a second to subscribe. So if you're anything like me, you might wonder, how in the world do flight attendants do it? They've got to deal with people like us, with our quirks, our idiosyncrasies, sometimes bad behavior. They've also got to deal with flight delays, the logistics of international travel, and all the challenges that came after 9/11 and COVID. So today, we're going to have a really fun conversation. I've brought my friend Kim Paterick to talk with us about the life of a flight attendant and also just the spontaneous spirit she has, which I love so much. Welcome to the show, Kim.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I'm glad you're here. So what is it that attracts you to being a flight attendant? You've been doing it for so long. Tell us about your seniority and how you got into the role.
Well, when I was a teenager, I took my first flight. My mom got me a ticket to go to Florida for Christmas, and I got to fly with my grandmother. And the first time I was on an airplane, I was just staring at the flight attendants. I thought, what a crazy job. I have no idea where they're going and what they're doing. It was so intriguing. I knew in the back of my mind it was something that appealed to me, but growing up like I did, it wasn't something I thought was even logical, because I grew up really where it's very remote. People just didn't travel a lot. So I think in the back of my mind, I always thought I was going to do this, but no idea how. So, it was something I aspired to do, but really had no idea. So once I had the opportunity, I was absolutely just beyond excited. And 37 plus years later, I still am. I mean, it's still a very fun job. I wouldn't trade it for anything.
I love to hear that. Well, it takes a special person to be able to do it, and we're going to find out how it all works. So when you and I met, we were both just out and about killing some time before dinner, and we ended up in the same boutique together and realized, we're both Americans. And as we exited the boutique, we quickly found out that each of us was from Atlanta, and that was a cool coincidence. And I think for a lot of people, when you meet like that in another country or anywhere in life, it might end right there. But because I kind of knew that I was eating by myself, and I deduced that you were going to be eating by yourself, and because I'm a very outgoing person, I decided to test the waters, and I was like, hey, I've got a reservation if you want to join me for dinner tonight, because I was just going to eat by myself. And I felt very safe, knowing that you're a flight attendant.
Yes, it's true.
And you're another woman, and you're from my city. So it just felt like a natural thing to ask. I wasn't nervous about asking you to join me. And it was so nice that you said yes. Tell everyone what your plan was originally going to be that night for dinner.
I had made a pact with myself that I was going to attempt to use the metro in Paris, because I really... it opens up your whole world when you can learn the transportation system of a city. So I had done that, and I was having so much fun just realizing, okay, I can go here now, I can go there now, and getting around the city. So I had thought, you know what, I'm going to go find a restaurant, I don't care where it is, and I Googled what is the best place to eat if you're a single person dining in Paris. And this restaurant came up, and it was, believe it or not, sitting at a table, and they put this gigantic teddy bear next to you so that you didn't feel like you were dining alone. And I thought, do I have the nerve to do that? I don't know, but whatever. Nobody knows me. I can sit there and I go to restaurants by myself a lot. But I thought it would be cute to do. So
it would have made for a great photo op, right?
But to be honest with you, when you asked me, I was like, oh my gosh, yes, because I always I always am looking for good restaurants. And when you were talking about it, I'm like, oh, I still want to go. But I want to seem too excited because I didn't want to seem like I hate eating alone. I do. So I was really excited. I was so happy you asked me.
Well, I love eating alone, but I also love meeting new people. So it was going to be fine either way. If you were like weirded out, oh, who's this stranger? I don't feel like going to dinner with her. But I'm so glad you said yes. And I just love just the general idea of saying yes. And that spontaneity made for a great evening. So we crammed a lot of things into that 1 hour before our dinner reservation. Actually, it was less than an hour because we had to be there in an hour. We had to account for Uber rides. Wow. So let's rattle off the places that we went. I'll start. We went to City Pharmacy.
Yes.
And we got skincare.
Well, we went to the grocery store to pick up the butter that I told you I had to buy while I was on my layover. That's mandatory in Paris.
And I didn't know about this because I didn't know you could even bring butter home in your suitcase. A, because I thought customs wasn't going to be cool with it. And B, I thought it would end up melting all over my bag. But you said, no, it's winter. You don't have to worry about it. Yeah,
thing. We have lots of quirky things we buy on layovers. But yes, butter was on the list. Yeah. And then we stumbled upon the beautiful jewelry store that was a pop-up.
Yes, Sophie Simone Designs. And so we made a new friend together. Here, you and I were new friends. And then we met a new friend as well. So Sophie Simone had twisted the deadbolt on the door to lock up the pop-up for the night, and we stuck our noses against the glass. We're like, can we please come in for 5 minutes?
Such cool jewelry.
Oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. I hope to have her on the podcast. And what was the last thing we did? Oh, you tell. We were total dorks.
We saw Lululemon. Like, we can't go to a Lululemon every other day of our lives, but we saw this and I was like, oh, look at that. And you said, I just bought that, different color, but I like that. And then we were in there, again, 10 minutes, but we managed to buy matching purses, which were very cute.
Yeah. I mean, I ended up giving that purse to Arden for Christmas. I was lacking. Nice. I was lacking in one Christmas gift for her, and I was like, okay, I'm going to give her the bag. But I can borrow it sometime, and you and I can go out and wear our matching bags together. Right? It was so funny. So, okay, so we had a great dinner surrounded by Americans, actually. I think they stick all the Americans at the back of the restaurant. And you had to go home after a leisurely 2 or 3 hour dinner and a couple of bottles of wine because you were turning into a pumpkin because you had to fly out the next day.
Yep.
And that was our fun chance evening.
It was awesome. It was so much fun. I literally came home to my hotel room and I was like, unbelievable the things that I got to do today because I went out and just decided I am not going to be afraid of the metro for one.
Right.
And I think it just gave me this whole attitude like, oh yeah, great. I'm completely content and excited about everything I was doing, and then it just brings people to you, I guess. I don't know. I don't know how you show that.
There's like a magnetism, you know, for sure. So before we met in Paris, you had to get to Paris. How does it work to go to work? Because I know for most of us who aren't flight attendants, we hop in the car and we drive to work and we work our shift and then we come home in rush hour again and then we're done. And we do the same thing the next day. Your job is exciting, but it's got a lot of moving parts before you actually get on the airplane. So can you explain how that works? Because you commute to another city to fly.
Well, it's very different for someone of my seniority, first of all. I hold a line, so I know what I'm going to fly. I don't have to be on reserve or on call, but I have a set schedule that I can swap stuff around. But if I have a trip like that, then I am typically leaving my house some point around noon during the day because my trip's going to check in late afternoon, early evening.
Okay.
Most of our trips that I fly go to Europe, and so I would, get packed and shower the very last minute, head out the door. I usually can get from my house to the airport through security in like an hour and 20 minutes. I have it down.
Wow.
I'm one of these people that,
and you live far away from the airport.
Yeah. Ooh, so I can get in and get to my gate pretty quickly. And I literally just walk on the plane. I have it down. So
we need to stay off the highway when you're heading to the airport.
I wish I had a little pop-up person for the HOV, but I don't. But anyway, so when I, once I get to my destination, my home base, I am really just trying to do what I can to, if there's training videos I have to watch, if there's things I need to do for my job, I do that. Then if there's other things I got to take care of, phone calls, I try to obviously get something to eat and then lay down for a few minutes doesn't always happen because I have a lot going on in my personal life that I have to pack in my suitcase with me to deal with when I'm gone. I can't do it when I'm home, right?
That makes sense. Yeah.
So after, 6 hours, sometimes 12 hours, you're sitting at the airport waiting for your actual check-in time, you have time to do stuff. A lot of us have second jobs. We can do that when we're on the ground up there.
Okay.
So there's things you can do to basically bide your time. And if you're smart, you have a side job that brings in money because, it's important. You're wasting a lot of time and you're not getting paid for that.
So what are some of these side jobs that some flight attendants have? I had never even thought about that.
Well, I personally am a nurse. I've done that since 2011. I went back to school. I know lots of flight attendants are real estate agents.
Okay.
I know flight attendants that work for the, different unions, different businesses, property management. I used to do that as well. There's things you can do. Lots of things
where there's
you
a
can
good bit of administrative work that could be done on a computer or on a phone while you're stuck.
Exactly. And it's easier now with computers. So a lot of people have second jobs. It's a great segue to keep you fresh. And when you're at work, then you're like, okay, I'm excited again because I'm doing this job. That's why I love it. Nursing is similar but very different. So you bring both of those aspects to work.
How does nursing work though while you're in an airport?
I don't do any of that on the phone. Mine is actually in office. So I don't do any of mine until I get back into town and I go to the clinic or go to the office to work.
I can imagine some nurses though, they might be doing some of the telehealth.
Oh yeah. I mean,
right?
I've considered that. I like where I work. I just enjoy what I do there, so I'd rather just stick to what I'm doing. And I think my life is it's complicated enough. So
right.
So but there's always something you can do.
Okay.
And it's a great way to just to bide the time while you're up, sitting in an airport.
Sure. So then the work of being a flight attendant, which is what we all think about, right? We don't even think about this before you even get on the airplane part. But once you're on the aircraft, I mean, as someone with 37 years seniority, are you always the lead flight attendant?
No. You position bid. It's great for people that, probably don't commute as much, or it helps your seniority a little bit to be a lead flight attendant. So they do it that way. Some people they like to be in charge. When I fly domestically, I love being in charge. I like it. I like the smaller planes. But internationally, I'd rather be in the back doing my job and working with a big crew and on the big airplanes. That's what I like. So it's definitely, it's not for everybody, but the lead flight attendants have a lot more responsibility.
Got it.
And, I let them do that.
So you mentioned to me that you kind of accidentally found yourself in the world of being a flight attendant. What do you mean by that?
Well, I went to school to be a travel agent. So my whole idea was I was going to become a travel agent. So I ended up, going to school to learn a computer system. And I thought, I was going to do anything I could just to get out of South Dakota because I was always freezing to death. I could not do the winters there. And I also, was really bored with the lack of culture and with, growing up in this small little town. So I knew I wanted to go and do something, but travel agent was what people did back then. So I ended up in Washington, D.C., and I followed my boyfriend at the time out there. And I had set up all these interviews to be a travel agent. And one of the interviews, I will never forget, this gentleman asked me to name all the states up and down the East Coast. And I thought, okay, let me see. And I started naming them, and I literally couldn't do it. And so I thought, okay, this is awful. I walked out of there knowing, how am I going to sell travel if I really don't even know where things are in the United States? And, he'd asked me where I'd traveled to, and I hadn't been to that many places. So now I'm like, what am I going to do, So my boyfriend at the time said, why don't you go and interview to be a flight attendant? So
Okay.
I ended up doing it and going to this interview. The interview was kind of a disaster because they had some issues. They kept getting interrupted. They said they had to cancel the interview. They got rid of everybody. And we're talking a ballroom filled with hundreds of people wanting to interview, right?
Okay.
And everybody just left. And I was standing there thinking, I can't believe this. Like, I came all the way here. I'm a farm girl from South Dakota. Can I just tell them for a second, how far I've come to try to do this? Okay. So something inside of me just pushed me to go back in, and I walked back in this ballroom, and I said to the ladies, I'm like, I'm sorry, I know you canceled this, but I really, really would like a chance to talk to you some more and possibly be considered for this job. And they both just looked at me and they said, you know what, why don't you just come down to Atlanta and we'll interview you one-on-one, okay? We're very sorry and whatever. So I was all excited. I left there. I went to my next interview, and immediately they were like, okay, so we talked to other people about what you did, and we thought, man, this girl is really great. She really wants to be a flight attendant. And they sent me to do all my medical exam, my background check, and that's, very extensive process. And I knew if I passed that I pretty much had the job. And I knew also that there's no reason why I wouldn't pass the medical exam. So I was very excited. I ended up then a couple weeks later in Miami going to training and stayed there for like 8 weeks going through the whole process.
Okay. You did it.
Yes.
Some perseverance.
Yeah.
And you
Lots of perseverance.
Pushed your way through the door.
Yes.
in a canceled interview, and you got the job. Quick favor, this independent podcast relies on YouTube subscriptions. So if you're enjoying the show, please take a second to subscribe. It helps me tremendously. And now we'll take a moment for the giving intermission. Don't fast forward. Your karma is watching. So Kim would like me to highlight the Humane Society of Forsyth County, an organization that does such meaningful work caring for animals in our community. For anyone who's ever loved a dog or cat, you know how much joy and comfort they bring to our lives. The Humane Society of Forsyth County rescues animals in need, gives them the care they deserve, and helps place them with families who will love them the way that every pet should be loved. If you'd like to support their work, you can learn more, volunteer, or donate at forsythpets.org. Helping even one animal find a safe and happy home really makes a difference.
So this was back in the late 80s, so I really missed the golden years of flying, which, the flight attendants wore little pillbox hats and white gloves, and it was very fancy. But when I started, we definitely had extensive training on first class service. We tossed Caesar salads in the aisle. We carved Chateaubriand. We served caviar and toast points, and we had Dom Perignon, and it was very, very common to have very high-end service domestically. I didn't fly internationally. This was all domestic service.
Yeah. Because you have to build up to be qualified to do that, right?
Yeah, and I was just where I was based. It was primarily domestic flying, but if you had long haul, big airplanes, it could get very fancy. So,
Did you like that?
Oh yeah, I loved it. I mean, I would prefer that to this day. I wish flying was still like it was. I wish it was a very, very high-end experience all the time. It is harder to do because in our first class now we have over 40 people, in our cabin. So it's a different service now, but it was so much fun and so elegant, and there was so many things that they had us doing. We walked into our in-flight and they would look at us and say, Kimberly, come here, and it's time for your weigh-in, and we'd have to step on a scale.
Wow. We
would have to, hold up our fingers and make sure our lipstick and our fingernail polish matched. And our shoes were basically, issued. We really didn't have a choice. You couldn't just say, oh, I can't wear those, I'm buying my own. There was one of 3 different shoes that you could buy that, none of which were comfortable. So it was very different. They really, really, really had a more uniform look and requirements of us, but it was fabulous. It really was. We had all kinds of dignitaries being in and out of DC and National Airport. There was a lot of congressmen and people that we had to learn how to address properly, and it just made it fun. We had a really fun after hours life, but then when we were on the plane, we were very professional, and it was very nice. I loved that. I wish it was more like that. But.
Yeah. Well, I love that you had the opportunity to experience that at all, right?
Yep.
Anyone coming into the business now, like your daughter is a flight attendant, you told me, and so she can only rely on the stories from her mom.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we had, very small paychecks, and with 13 of us, we learned how to pay the rent, but we still had to feed ourselves. We still had to entertain ourselves. So one of the things we were very good at was a game called Beat the Bank, where we would, we'd go to these towns and we were like, okay, we can write a check and buy stuff because that check's not going to clear back in Washington, D.C. until, 3 or 4 days later. In the meantime, we would get paid. So we would have money coming in before we actually, had the checks clear in our bank. So we played these little games with Beat the Bank, and we'd say, okay, well, if we do this, we can, so by the time we got our paychecks, it was already gone. So we had to start beating the bank again. But then we would actually, decide, all right, we have zero money, but let's just go to the airport, get on a plane, because we know there's a flight out there that has first class seats, and we can sit and eat and drink for free and feed ourselves and make fun of it. And
Chateaubriand and caviar.
Yeah. So we had plenty of time to, figure out ways to feed ourselves and stuff. And it builds character. If you have never tried to figure out how to take care of yourself with nothing, it makes for a very interesting, 20s. I think you need to do that in your 20s. I think you need to do that at some point in your life and be like, you know what, I'm not above this. I'm going to do it. And I think it's served me well. I've done that a lot, walking back in and saying, I want this job. I don't care. You don't know me, but I want this job. Or, I'm going to figure out how to feed myself, and, I'm going to do it. And I'm telling you, we had more fun, doing all those things as, a group. Flight attendants still to this day, we're very inventive and we're very resourceful. We help each other out all the time. We have things that we post on Facebook, like if you're going here, this and this and this, these are free museums. Go there. It's a great way to spend your little layover.
So it's like crowdsourcing, but just in the flight attendant community.
Yeah, most of them are like, they have to verify your background or where you work. And then you can join these Facebook pages, and there's very interesting things on there.
So is that how you knew about the specific brand of French butter that we were hunting for?
Actually, that was our speaker. So every airplane has language speakers for our passengers that do not speak English. So
so like a member of the crew, a fellow flight attendant?
There's usually two of them. So one does the announcements and stuff on the way, and another one does them on the way back. But between the speakers, they always are helping us. They're always trying to give us insight on, this is what you do. That's how I learned how to ride the metro. They were like, this is all you do. And I'm like, oh, so easy. Just, figure it out. It's not difficult.
But great. So you've got such a good community of all that information. I'm sure there were some pretty spontaneous trips that you might have taken just to go do something crazy and fun. What is one of the top memories that you want to share about that?
Well, I have a really good friend that lives in Kentucky, and when I was a new hire flight attendant, she would always say, come see me in Kentucky, come see me in Kentucky, and I would go, and one of the times she said, hey, can you come to Kentucky? We actually got tickets to this ball. And I was like, oh, I don't know. Well, I have no idea. And so I have to work, whatever. And so she kept calling me. And finally I gave in. And she goes, the tickets are going to be like $230. And I was like, oh,
to go to the ball?
Yes. Okay. This ball was a private event that was invitation only. And it was for horse owners in Lexington.
Okay.
So I I thought, she's like, this is an opportunity of a lifetime. We need to go. It's going to be awesome. It's right up our alley. We're going to get all dressed up. And I was like, okay, I'll figure it out. Mm-hmm. So I get into town and she goes, where's your dress? And I said, I don't have a dress. Like, I literally just worked a trip and now I'm here in Kentucky. So you help me out. What do I do? And she goes, oh my gosh, we got to find you a dress. So that was interesting. I ended up buying a dress where she picked up her alterations. They happened to have a dress that was emerald green in the back that they said, try it on, it fit me. I bought it for like $30 and wore this to this ball that we pull up in, and I get out of the taxi that we take, and it is people getting interviewed because it's a bunch of celebrities, right? So they're all being interviewed, and I'm just like, wow, look at these people. And so,
had you ever been to an event like that before where there were celebs around?
I mean, I have, but I wasn't that close. I guess I was right there in this big lobby with them, and it was a big top tent. So there was an area where everybody walked into with bathrooms on either side. Yeah, and I thought it was just so cool because we had to walk right through them. So I remember getting asked to dance and dancing with this guy and being annoyed because he always had these guys standing with him. And I said, I don't understand. Why do these guys have to follow you around? He goes, oh, are they bothering you? And I said, no, I don't understand. What is your deal? Like, do they not can't they find a girl to dance with or something? He's like, oh, no. But then, he tells him maybe go away a little bit. And he comes back and he hands me a drink, and I said, oh, what is this? And he goes, oh, it's a mint julep. And I said, oh, okay. Where'd you get this fancy glass? And he goes, oh, I got it over here. And I'm like, wow, they didn't give me one in this fancy glass. And and so I thought, well, we're dancing, we're having fun. And I said, what's your name? And he said, Al. And so I said, well, it's nice to meet you. I said, but really, you can stop the fake accent because I don't really, I'm not really impressed. And he was like, you think my accent's fake? And I said, yeah, I think it's fake. He says, wow, okay. And he chuckled with these two guys that are still off in the distance. And
are they his entourage or something?
I didn't know what an entourage was. I just thought they were just awkward guys, and he was just happened to be the guy with any kind of personality. So the night goes on, and I am dancing and having a ball. My girlfriend's right there with me. We're taking pictures. And next thing you know, he's like, it's 2:00 in the morning, and I think I'm going to go. Where are you guys staying? So my girlfriend rattles off the name of this hotel, which happens to be the nicest place in Lexington. And he goes, well, that's where I'm staying. Can I give you a ride? And I said, I'm staying with my girlfriend. I'm not leaving. We've paid a lot of money for these tickets. Yeah. I'm getting every 5 minutes.
Still going on, right?
So he was like, really? And I said, really? Yeah, I'm staying. But thank you for dancing. It was fun. So he leaves. The next day is the Derby. And the day after that, I'm flying back. And I'm in this airport. And I see a newspaper. And I see it's from Kentucky. And I went, oh my gosh, is that a paper from Louisville? And she goes, yeah, it's all about the Derby. And I said, I was just there. I want to see it when you're done. Do you mind? And she goes, no. And I look and I see these pictures of the celebrities that are there. And I'm like, I wonder if, who was at the same ball that I was at. And I see the picture of the guy that I danced with all night that asked me to go to a hotel that I turned down. And
who was it?
And it was actually Prince Albert of Monaco.
No way.
And I was like, oh, I called my girlfriend. I said, do you know the guy? She goes, I got to get these pictures developed. So she goes takes this film in. She goes, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. You're such an idiot. I said, you're the idiot. I don't even know anything about anybody.
So you have photographic proof?
Yes, I have proof of, yes.
Oh my God, I love it.
And it's hilarious because I still got this emerald green dress on. And the actual lady whose event this was walked up to me and asked me at the ball if she knew me. And I thought, no, I'm sorry. And my girlfriend runs up. She goes, She was offended because the theme was black and white. You're supposed to wear black and white, and you showed up in emerald green.
There you were, the stunning. That's why you stood out. That's why Prince Albert wanted to dance with you. You were the bold woman who didn't conform to the all black and white.
Definitely was out there, and I was bleach blonde back then too. So it was.
You must have looked fabulous. You must text me a picture.
I will find that picture.
Oh, I love it.
So yeah, there's one that's really good. But anyway, I can't say that I regretted doing that at all. It was so much fun. Like I have done, you know, you have to take chances. You got to do stuff. And if somebody offers you to do something, and you may never get to do it again, you know, so do it.
Well, I'm sure that's not the only time that you had such an incredible experience just from saying yes. That's two so far that I know of. Our fun dinner and then Prince Albert of Monaco. Oh my God. I've got to think as a flight attendant, you've got a trick or your best advice for jet lag. And why don't we just cover it for coming from the US and going to Europe? What's the best way to handle the jet lag?
As a passenger, I think it is imperative you try to take a nap. So however you can get that done, if you, you know, make yourself comfortable. Eye masks for sure, earplugs to block out all the noise.
Okay.
Put something on your personal device that, you know, lulls you to sleep, play games, whatever it takes, but take that nap so when you get in, you're not exhausted and lose that day of vacation.
So you don't really think that when you land, you should try to get to the hotel and squeeze in a little nap? Do you think that you just have to power through?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on how long your trip is and how, you know, some people are like, I definitely have to sleep when I get in, but force yourself up. Force yourself up if you do take a nap.
Okay.
So that you can join in with the local time zone and go to dinner and then go to bed with the locals.
And then sleep hard. That's like the best sleep. So what tip do you have for overpackers?
Well, I think you need to make sure you utilize every single space in your suitcase. If you have shoes, put stuff inside of your shoes. That's wasted space.
Okay.
If you have a husband traveling with you, there's room in his shoes as well. And packing cubes are a great asset. If you put stuff in packing cubes, it really helps utilize that space inside that suitcase.
Okay. So the prince that you actually married, when you're traveling with Rob, do you travel very differently as far as like cramming as much as you can into a short period of time? Are you always go, 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 or do you have a different speed for those vacations? And then also, are you a super light packer when you're just vacationing?
I'm definitely not a light packer because...
Okay, because you don't have to be when it's for pleasure. Good.
No, I make sure that I check a bag, but always have essentials in my carry-on still.
Okay.
So I have, you know, wherever you're going, you have clothing and you have whatever you need immediately. It can get through the couple days in case they happen to lose your luggage. But
a girl's worst nightmare.
Yeah, you have to have your stuff. If you're going to a warm climate, you keep a bathing suit. It takes no space. Put that in your carry-on. Put a few toiletries in your carry-on. All your jewelry carry-on. You don't check your valuables. You don't check your, you know, your favorite purse. You don't check that kind of stuff. But I utilize my husband's shoes. Space in there. We both aren't very good packers, but you know, weigh it so you don't have to deal with the weight of the bag when you get to the airport. You know, make sure you're not overweight. But you know, I think it's best if you just check a bag and keep your load light on the airplane with your basic essentials and just you know, trust the airline's going to get your luggage there. And
So when you and Rob are on a trip, is the pace very different intentionally from the way you're cramming the most into a 24-hour trip when you're working?
Actually, no. When we vacation, we go pretty hard because my husband's a doer, like I'm a doer, and we like to be adventurous, and we like to, you know, we have our little plan because we go to some of the same places a lot because we like to know places, but we're going to new cities, then we definitely get out there and see as much as we can.
Love it. What's on your bucket list?
So we actually have a trip the end of this month. We're going to a resort. Then the bucket list item, which I have a milestone birthday next year, so we are doing a catamaran in the Caribbean.
Ooh, that's going to be amazing.
I cannot wait for that.
How many of you?
There's 6 of us.
Oh, that'll be
so
awesome.
We have 6 of us committed, and yeah, it's going to be fun because I know my friends. But also, I have bucket list places I haven't been. Like I think flight attendants, we're always looking to the future where we can go. You know, that 5-day Cape Town trip is still dangling out there that I can't hold, and there's things that I definitely have a bucket list. I always have, you know, a bucket list because it just keeps you young. You have to look forward to all there is to offer out there. There's so many places that are so exciting, and you know, traveling is stressful, but yet it is so rewarding. It is absolutely so rewarding.
I'm glad you love it so much. What's your favorite destination for work?
It depends the time of year.
Okay.
If I'm going somewhere that I don't care if it's worth a lot of money, like it's a shorter trip, I love Lisbon.
Okay.
I love Rome because you can never walk enough in Rome. So if you want to just go and say, I just want to go somewhere, I'm going to walk all day, that's Rome. I like the warmer climates. I love Barcelona.
Okay.
I love that.
Didn't you say you've been to Dubai?
Dubai, yeah.
Do you enjoy that trip?
It is very, very interesting. I recommend everybody go there. It is a beautiful place.
How many days do you stay when you fly to Dubai?
That's a 4-day trip. So you
Okay.
get 36 hours basically to do what you want to do. And there's so much to do there.
Wow.
It's crazy, but yeah.
Oh, I can't wait to learn more about that because one day I think I'm going to accompany Justin to Dubai. So I'll need your list of the must-dos. Yes. This has been so much fun getting to cover all of this information with you. What an exciting but also exhausting profession you have. But 37, almost 38 years in, do you have on the horizon when you think you want to retire?
No.
Is there a forced retirement?
No, there's not. There's not, and flight attendants don't retire anymore. So it's something like my daughter's like, you can retire anytime you want, right? Just why don't you all move on? But there's always something that we haven't done. And I'm like, I have so much more to see and do. And, you know, the older you get and the more senior you get, you're more flexible your trips are because you get better trips. Other people want them. You drop them very, very easily. So you can fly 1 trip a month, 2 trips a month, whatever. And it's just a nice little, you know, mini vacation for your other job if you have one or whatever. The older you get, you do cut back, so it makes it easier to just hang on to that job. And just, you know, there's nothing forcing you out. So
Okay.
as long as you're healthy and can move and lift your bag, you can get there.
Absolutely. Okay, I have some funny questions. What do you want to plead with us passengers to stop doing?
Okay, well,
Is this a big one?
This is definitely there's a couple things that come to mind. One of which is we kindly recommend that you wear shoes going into a lavatory because of obvious reasons to us, but obviously not obvious to the general public. So
Yeah.
I see people going in there with socks, barefoot.
Ooh,
I
barefoot.
don't know, and they're bringing their kids in there, and I'm like, I think you should put shoes on. The floor is really wet, but they still walk in, and I'm like, that is not water. I mean, do you understand? And you know, we go in and clean the bathrooms. We have all the cleaning supplies to go in and clean it, but I don't think they care. And I'm like, you have to understand it. Just put some shoes on, slip your shoes back on, to walk in the bathroom.
Noted.
The other thing, which is a new thing because people wear headphones and people are not hearing flight attendants' announcements. They're not hearing anything about what we're serving, any of the emergency procedures, and they're tuned into their own show. So
That's got to be a little scary for y'all knowing that we haven't been paying attention.
You know, we go up with the cart, we have our beverages, and we're like, would you like something to drink? And they don't have any clue we're standing there. So you do this in front of their face, like, hello. And they're like, oh, yeah. Oh, wait, what do you want? And then what do you have? And we don't have time to just deal with you as an individual. And we have 200 and some people. And after a while, and people do it a lot, it gets frustrating. So
Yeah, I bet.
But
the primary thing is that safety piece. Gosh, I mean, does it make you all nervous as a flight attendant community that, oh my gosh, when something goes on, people are really not going to know what to do because they just have not been paying attention.
Yeah, it is definitely a concern because no one is paying attention to anything other than their phones, and the screen goes obviously to the safety demo, but people still don't pay attention because they're on their own devices watching movies and stuff. So I can't imagine, the exit row verification we do when we're walking through the airplane, we tell them, take your headphones off and answer us. And that is so hard to get people to just do that.
Really?
It's like, you're sitting in exit row. You've already been told you're sitting in exit row when you walked on the plane. Here we are again. Are you willing and able? And they're like, wait, what? And it's like, please just acknowledge that at least you're going to try or something, that you know where you're sitting, because it's so important. Everybody's, going to be coming at you in an emergency. So, things like that, just give us 30 seconds or a minute and a half to give you some safety information, and, it'll save a lot of people.
It's not too much to ask.
Right.
Okay. So all in all, do you really love the job as much as it seems like you do?
I mean, of course we love the job. Flight attendants do get burned out. I don't personally have that because I don't fly that much.
Okay.
But there are a lot of flight attendants that really have to work a lot more, and when they do, it's exhausting.
Okay.
And it is a lot to go through, not knowing where you're going to end up. And, some of the junior people that are on reserve, they don't even know when they pack their suitcase where they're going to go that day, because they go to the airport and they get assigned something after that. So there is that burnout element to it. But I think for the most part, as I said in an interview that I did years ago, I literally mean this, but there is no job that you could ever have in the world where you have the opportunity to make somebody happy.
Yeah.
There's 200 or 300 people on your flight, and you literally can touch a lot of those people when you're working, I remember also saying in an interview, and it's so true, growing up in a small town and having people around me that didn't fly a lot, when I'm on an airplane, I think about those people, and they don't always know what's going on, how to put luggage away, or how to navigate an airport, or how to even, fasten a seatbelt or oxygen or things.
Sure.
And I look at them and I think, that could be my grandmother, or that could be my dad, or that could be somebody that doesn't travel a lot. So, have a little patience and have a little, sympathy or empathy when they're going through something. But it goes both ways. Like, flight attendants go through hell when we are trying to get to the airport some days, and we have our own situations. So I think we all have to keep that in mind. We are human beings too, and we try to do the best job we can, but we're always trying to keep people safe. And our fallback is always like, sorry, but I can't do that. It's not safe. I'm not allowed. It's against policy, and you have to respect that. You just have to understand we all have the best intentions, but it doesn't always work that way. We have very serious jobs, whether they don't seem serious or not, but they make us be very, very strict with our governing of all the rules that we are taught. So, I wouldn't change this job for the world. If I had to go back and be a teenager again, and people say, what would you do differently? I would definitely still be a flight attendant, for sure.
I love it so much. And, we hear the stories on the news about people who are poorly behaved, and I hate hearing about that. All in all, are we pretty good as a whole, or are you seeing like a big decline just overall in behavior?
I really have zero issue on my airplane.
Okay.
I just don't see it.
I'm so glad to hear that, because it makes me worry when obviously they're just showing us what they're going to show us on the news.
Yeah.
Because it gets people to watch and pay attention. So I'm glad to hear you say that you just don't see that.
I know there's cancellations and delays, and it's frustrating. But for the most part, I think people understand, we all have to just get through this, and then we'll get there. But I don't really see problems on my airplanes. I think everybody just needs to be respectful, just respect each other's position. respect the passengers, and the passengers need to respect that, we do have some authority to say, please, you have to sit down, or you have to have your seatbelts on. There's things that you don't want to do. We don't want to make you do them. We don't want to do them either, but you have to do them. So it's pretty much black and white with me on the airplane. I'm like, sorry, I don't want to do that either, but you got to do that. I flew through COVID. I had to enforce those masks. It was the thing to do, and there's always something that we have to say that we, don't want to say, but, it's part of our job, and, we would love a little bit of respect when it comes to, just understanding that it is what we're told we have to do, so.
Okay. So other than the perks and the exciting destinations, what's the favorite part of the job for you?
Oh, well, of course it's going to be meeting people, meeting the passengers on the plane, meeting people as you're walking around foreign cities, and creating new long-term friendships. I mean, we have a fabulous group of flight attendants that once we get on an airplane, we're like family.
Oh, I love that.
And it doesn't go away. Like, you always feel like they're your extended family.
And even if you don't know the particular crew that you're with, if you haven't flown with them at all, because you don't really you were saying to me before that you don't do a lot of buddy bidding.
Right.
So you really feel that bond just because of the culture of flight attendants?
Yeah, because we know where we all came from. We know what we went through. We know that we have to go through rigorous background checks. We're fingerprinted. We have a safety feeling, or we feel safe around each other, but we also we're a lot of the same personalities. We love to be outgoing and meet people, and it's just a greatest group. And, the opportunity that we have to meet people on the ground, I love it. I love going to foreign cities and meeting people, and it's a little easier when I'm traveling with my husband or something, but, the chance of finding you in the middle of Paris, you can't do that. You just cannot do that unless you have a little bit of spontaneity and a little bit of, interest in just extending your arm and being like, hey, I want to say something to them and meet them and just do it,
Well, I'm so glad we did. This was really fun. Thanks for giving me a peek into the day-to-day life of a flight attendant. And we'll see you up in the sky. And I want to be a buddy with you and go on one of your trips with you one day.
Absolutely. When I get that 5-day Cape Town, we'll do it.
Okay, I've never been. Let's do it. We'll both check it off of a bucket list.
All right.
All right, my dear. That was fun. Thanks, Kim.
Oh, thank you so much. It was great.
It would have been so easy to smile politely and move on, and to stay at separate restaurants and to protect our solitude, but spontaneity has a way of enriching life in ways that we just can't predict. Listening to Kim talk about her life as a flight attendant, constantly crossing borders, navigating cultures, meeting strangers who may never meet again, reminded me that the world is full of small windows of possibility. One of my fascinations is the fatigue of the jet lag and the stress of flight delays and all the inconveniences. But my takeaway is that Kim doesn't let exhaustion or frustration take away her pleasures of her job. That night in Paris became more than just a dinner. Kim and I became friends, and now we've got this great story that we'll never forget. I'm glad you're still here, and the fact that you are, watching or listening all the way to the end, means you gave me a chance. This is a new podcast, and it was a big leap to create this for you, something real, thoughtful, and meaningful. We live in one of the most networked societies in history, but somehow we've become the least connected. That's the magic of She Fascinates Me, bringing together real women, real stories, and the quiet alchemy of change. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow or subscribe wherever you watch or listen, and take a moment to leave a quick rating or review. It really helps more people find the show, and it makes it possible for me to keep bringing you conversations like this one. And connect with me on social at She Fascinates Me. Every follow, share, and kind word helps this community of fascinating women grow. I'm so glad we're connected now. Thanks for being part of She Fascinates Me. This is an independent podcast, and every YouTube subscription helps me so much.